The rain tapped insistently against the bay windows of our Victorian home in Willow Creek, a quaint suburb where the lawns were always trimmed and the secrets were buried deep. It was a Thursday evening in late March, the kind of night where the air felt heavy with unspoken truths. I stood in the kitchen, pouring a glass of Pinot Noir, when Daniel came home. His trench coat was damp, his dark hair slicked back from the drizzle, and his hazel eyes avoided mine as he dropped his briefcase by the door. "Late surgery again," he muttered, the excuse as worn as the soles of his loafers. I nodded, the perfect wife, the one who didn't question the chief neurosurgeon of St. Augustine Medical Center. After all, I'd spent 17 years building this life with him, 2 kids, a sprawling house, a reputation as the golden couple of the medical elite. But that night something shifted. Maybe it was the way he lingered by the sink, washing his hands too long, or the faint scent of jasmine that clung to his collar, a perfume I'd never worn. Our marriage hadn't always been a facade. I remembered the early days, Daniel in his scrubs, exhausted but exhilarated after his first successful craniotomy, me grading papers from my high school English classes, dreaming of the family we'd built. I'd given up teaching when our son Ethan was born, then our daughter Lily 2 years later. Daniel's career soared, and I became the backbone of our domestic empire, PTA president, charity gala organizer, the woman who made Dr. Daniel Pierce's brilliance possible. "You're my rock, Laura," he'd say at hospital dinners, his arm around my waist, his smile dazzling the room. I believed him. Until I didn't. The unraveling began with a lipstick stain, but not in the way you'd expect. It wasn't on his shirt or a hidden notie, it was on a cocktail napkin, crumpled in the pocket of his gym bag. I found it on a Tuesday morning, the kids at school, the house silent except for the hum of the dishwasher. I'd been sorting laundry, a mundane task that grounded me, when I noticed the bag tucked behind his row of polished dress shoes in our walk-in closet. The zipper gaped open, revealing the napkin, blood-red lipstick smeared across it, the kind no surgeon would wear. My heart thudded as I unfolded it. Scrawled in loopy handwriting was a single word. Tonight. No name, no context, just a promise that didn't belong to me. I stood there, frozen, the napkin trembling in my hands. The clock on the wall read 9:23 a.m. Ethan was in algebra, Lily at her violin lesson. I should have been planning the spring fundraiser, but instead I was staring at Evie Denke that my husband, me Daniel, had a secret life. I didn't scream or cry. I folded the napkin, slipped it into my pocket, and finished the laundry. That's who I was. Laura Pierce, the woman who kept it together, even when the ground beneath her cracked. The next few days I watched him. Daniel's routines hadn't changed: coffee at 6:45, hospital by 7:30, home by 9 o'clock if I was lucky. But the signs were there, subtle as spiderwebs. His phone buzzed more often, and he'd angle it away from me. He'd started wearing cologne again, a musky scent he hadn't used since our dating days. And the late nights, always emergency surgeries, always vague. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed proof, something concrete to shatter the illusion I'd clung to for nearly 2 decades. It came on our 17th anniversary. I'd planned a Saprizia weekend at Lake Tahoe, where we'd spent our honeymoon. I'd booked the cabin, arranged for the kids to stay with my sister, even bought a silk dress in midnight blue, his favorite color. All I needed was to sync our schedules. His phone sat on the kitchen counter while he showered, the screen dark but tempting. I hesitated, my fingers hovering. I'd never snooped before, trust was our unspoken vow. But the napkin burned in my memory, and I tapped the screen, awake. A text notification glowed. Sophia Grant. Last night was incredible. When are you telling her? My breath caught. Sophia Grant, his colleague, a rising star in neurology, 10 years younger than me, with sharp cheekbones and a laugh that turned heads at hospital events. I opened the thread. Hundreds of messages stretched back 9 months, intimate confessions, photos of her in lingerie, plans made while I was deriving Lily to practice or helping Ethan with his college essays. One exchange gutted me: Sophia. She's planning some anniversary thing. Pathetic. Daniel, don't worry, she's clueless. I'll handle it. I set the phone down, my hand steady despite the storm inside me. I made his coffee, kissed him goodbye, and waited until he left before collapsing onto the floor, dry, heaving until my throat burned. That night, after the kids were asleep, I confronted him in our bedroom, the same room where we'd laughed over baby names, where he'd held me after my mother's cancer diagnosis. "Are you sleeping with Sophia Grant?" My voice was calm, a blade wrapped in silk. He didn't flinch. He unbuttoned his shirt, folded it neatly, and met my gaze with cold indifference. "Yes." "How long?" "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." 9 months. Maybe 10. He shrugged, as if discussing a minor inconvenience. "I want a divorce, Laura. I'm done with this." The air left my lungs. Done with this? 17 years, 2 kids, a life we built together, and you're done. "I've outgrown it," he said, gesturing at the room, our king bed, the framed photos of Ethan and Lily, the life I'd poured myself into. "I'm 47. I want more. Sophia gets Mimi work, my drive. You're comfortable. Predictable." His words were bullets, each one tearing through the woman I'd been. I'd sacrificed my career, my dreams, to support his. I'd hosted dinners for hospital donors, stayed up late reviewing his grant proposals, raised our children while he chased glory. And now I was an anchor he'd cut loose. "You'll be fine," he added, his tone transactional. "The kids will adjust. I'll make sure you're taken care of financially." He slept in the guest room that night. I lay awake, replaying every moment of our marriage, searching for the cracks I'd ignored. The next morning, he left a business card on the counter, his lawyers. By noon, he'd moved into a downtown condo, leaving me to explain his absence to Ethan and Lily. "Dad's working a lot," I lied, smiling through the ache. They nodded, too young to question the shift, too trusting to see the truth. But the truth wasn't just an affair. It was deeper, darker, a betrayal that rewrote everything I thought I knew. It started with the finances. A week after Daniel left, I met with Catherine Voss, a divorce attorney with a reputation for shredding cheating spouses. "Document everything," she said, her voice sharp as her stilettos. "Especially the money." That night, I cracked open our safe tax returns, investment portfolios, bank statements. What I found wasn't just infidelity. It was theft. Over 3 years, $300,000 had vanished from our joint SAVYNGS into an LLC called Crescent Ventures, registered solely in Daniel's name. Monthly transfers $8,000, $12,000, once $15,000 with no explanation. I called the bank. The manager stammered. "It's private, Mrs. Pierce. I can't disclose more." But his hesitation confirmed it. Daniel was hiding something big. Catherine's eyes narrowed when I showed her the statements. "He's stashing assets. Common in divorces, but this feels deliberate. Long-term. We need to dig deeper." Digging led me to Dr. James Carter, a former colleague of Daniel's who'd left St. Augustine 4 years earlier under a cloud of rumors. Daniel had brushed it off. James couldn't handle the pressure. But I remembered him. Quiet, intense, always scribbling in a notebook at staff parties. It took 6 calls to find him, now running a rural clinic an hour outside Willow Creek. His receptionist balked until I mentioned Daniel's name. "Mrs. Pierce," James said when he picked up, his voice heavy. "I've been waiting for this call." We met at a diner halfway between our worlds. He looked older than his 45 years, gray streaking his temples, lines etched deep around his eyes. Over black coffee, he dropped a bomb that shattered my reality. The fertility clinic at St. Augustine was a sham, he said, his words measured but brutal. Failed IVFs, falsified reports, swapped specimens. I found discrepancies, lab results that didn't match patient files. When I pushed, they shut me down. My hands tightened around my mug. We'd gone through 4 rounds of IVF for Ethan, 2 for Lily. Each failure had broken me. Each success felt like a miracle. "Daniel knew," James continued, sliding a USB drive across the table. "He wasn't just aware, I signed off on it. Including your treatments." "What are you saying?" My voice cracked. "Daniel has a genetic condition, familial amyloidosis. It's rare, manageable in him, but a 50-fan chance of passing it to his kids. A neurosurgeon with his ego couldn't risk flawed offspring. He made sure his sperm was never used. Anonymous donors, Laura. Your kids aren't his." The diner spun. I gripped the table while rising. He lied to me? For 17 years. Career first, then pride. The clinic director, Dr. Ellis, was in on it, boosting success rates, securing funding. Daniel got a promotion out of it. Chief of neurosurgery doesn't happen without dirty hands. I took the USB drive, its weight a grenade, in my purse. That night, I collected DNA samples: hair from Ethan's brush, saliva from Lily's toothbrush, a strand from Daniel's old razor. I sent them to a discreet lab, the way to slow torture. Meanwhile, Daniel pushed the divorce, his lawyer painting me as unstable, unfit. They offered a pittance settlement, banking on my compliance. I played along, nodding at mediation, smiling at school pickups, all while the truth simmered beneath my skin. The results came on a Monday. The email was clinical, merciless. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father. Probability of paternity 0. Fantram. I printed 4 copies, one for Catherine, one for a safe deposit box, one for Daniel, and one I burned in the fireplace, watching the ashes curl. This wasn't just an affair or hidden money. Daniel had stolen my choice, my motherhood, my life. He'd built our family on a lie, then discarded me when it suited him. Grief hardened into resolve. I wouldn't just divorce him, I'd destroy him. I started with the clinic. James gave me names: 30 couples treated during Daniel's tenure. Most hung up, too afraid to question their miracles. 6 met me. The Hendersons had twins with no resemblance to them. The Patel's son had a rare blood disorder they couldn't explain. The others whispered about special attention from Dr. Ellis. We formed a quiet alliance, a sisterhood of the betrayed. Then I found Maria Torres, a former clinic nurse who'd kept a ledger: patient names, altered procedures, Daniel's signature on every page. I tried to report it, she said, her apartment cluttered with files. The hospital buried it. Daniel's untouchable board connections, donor money. She handed me her journal, a roadmap to his crimes. I took it to Agent Ryan Keller, a healthcare fraud investigator who'd been circling St. Augustine for 2 years. This is gold, he said, flipping through Maria's notes. But we need more finances, confessions, a current insider. I became his shadow operative, recording Daniel's calls, photographing documents, tracking Sophia's role. She wasn't just his mistress, she was leverage. Sophia's past was a revelation. My PI uncovered her real name. Sophia Langston, daughter of Emily Langston, a patient Daniel had killed 5 years ago. A botched aneurysm repaired Daniel, sleep-deprived from a weekend with Sophia, missed a bleed. The hospital blamed Emily's undisclosed meds, paid off the family, and sealed the records. Sophia's father died a year later, broken. She'd reinvented herself, infiltrated Daniel's life, her affair a slow poison. She didn't know about the kids, but she wanted him ruined. We were mirror images, her revenge emotional, mine surgical. I didn't approach her. Our goals aligned, but her volatility could derail me. Instead, I built my case. Financial trails led from Crescent Ventures to offshore accounts due La $1.2 million over 5 years, kickbacks from the clinic. Former staff testified to coercion. And Daniel, arrogant as ever, slipped during a recorded call. The kids are fine, Laura. I had them tested. No amyloidosis. He'd admitted the lie, unaware I held the proof. The climax came at the St. Augustine Gala, where Daniel was to receive the humanitarian award. I wore a silver gown, sharp as a blade, and watched him preen with Sophia in emerald green. The board had met secretly that afternoon. Ryan presented the EVY Denke, and they greenlit his arrest. As Daniel accepted his trophy, waxing poetic about trust in medicine, I slipped out to Vincenzo's, our old haunt, where he'd celebrate with Sophia. They were at our table, toasting with a Dula 500 bottle of Cabernet. I approached, the DNA results in a silver envelope. Congratulations, Daniel, I said, sliding it across. His smirk faded as he read, Sophia's eyes widening. What is this? She demanded. Ask him, I replied. About the IVF. The donors. The lie he's lived for 17 years. Nothing. Daniel snapped. She's delusional. Then explain it to them, I said, nodding as Ryan and the board entered, badges gleaming. Dr. Daniel Pierce, you're under arrest: fraud, malpractice, embezzlement. The restaurant hushed. Sophia stared, her revenge eclipsed. I didn't know about the kids, she whispered. I believe you, I said. We both wanted justice. Daniel's empire crumbled, license revoked. Assets seized, a trial looming. The clinic closed, families sued, and I co-chaired a new ethics board with James. 6 months later, Sophia and I met again, two survivors of the same wreckage. Regrets? She asked. No, I said. The kids will know the truth, but they're mine. I chose reality. That night, watching Ethan and Lily sleep, I felt free. The perfect life was gone, but what remained was mine, raw, real, and unbroken.
If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.